Nobody wants to get in trouble. Nobody wants things to be different than before. Change, however, is not always a bad thing. Kyle Korver of the Utah Jazz agrees. The NBA has made various changes to the game of basketball, and they don't plan to stop. When proposing a new rule, such as a 4-point shot to be incorporated into the game, Korver thinks it is a rule worth exploring. Mentioning that in the first few years of his career, the league was talking about getting rid of the 3-point line because of the number of bad shots being taken, and gets a kick out of how today they talk about adding a 4-point shot because of how the game has evolved through change. Freedom of movement is the term used to describe some of these rule changes and has demonstrated that over the years. So when it comes to defensive-minded teams, they have to find new ways to slow down the offense, since the offense has gained an advantage in recent years. A few years ago, they started to reset the shot clock to 14 seconds after an offensive rebound. This grants the offensive team the advantage, giving them extra time to make a play on the basket when grabbing their own rebound. A lot of the rule changes are experimented with in the G League and throughout the summer to see how these rules change the game and if they change it the way intended. It is an experimental process that the officials have to get used to, and eventually it carries onto the players. Back in the day, players used to be able to guard another guy using their whole arm as leverage on the back of a player with the ball, allowing the offense the ability to move freely, but also giving them a greater advantage and making it harder for the defense. In today's game, if you touch a guy, it's a foul. And I just think to myself, isn't that a law? Anyway, many changes are not publicized and can go unnoticed, though this one did not. In 1951, a change was introduced that expanded the lane from 6 feet to 12 feet. At the time, it was aimed at guys like George Milkins to stop their impact and to encourage him to pass out to a guard or a wing. They used to be able to sit down on the block for as long as they wanted, call for the ball, and spin and shoot. Doubling the size of the lane, players had to position themselves twice as far from the rim because you can only be in the paint for so long before making a play. This big man won 3 scoring titles, a recording title, and made 4 All-Star teams in 6 years. In 1964, the league decided to widen the lane again to 16 feet wide, this time to stop Wilt Chamberlain's dominance. He was most definitely the dominant player in the league at the time, and this rule change slowed down big guys like him. The NBA is claimed to be an offensive game by today's standards, and what started all this? The addition of the shot clock. This quickens the pace of the game, forcing players to shoot the ball even though they are not ready. After this significant change, the league's average points per game increased from 79.4 to 93.1. This not only improved the game on the court, but also for the viewer, as it made the game more exciting. What's more exciting than how many shots are put up? Where they are put up from. Implementing the 3-point shot. Yes, there was a time when basketball did not have a 3-point line. If it weren't for this, we would not see players like Steph Curry or Kyle Korver take the game of basketball to the offensive level. Zone defense was banned in 1947, but reintroduced in 2002 with the intention of slowing down Shaquille O'Neal. Every night, putting up double-doubles, Shaq was showing the league something they hadn't seen since Wilt Chamberlain. Hand checking has seen a few rule changes, but shortly after bringing back zone defense, they strictly forbade hand checking. With guys playing harder on the defensive side of the ball and now making it harder for a big man to score down low, they needed to help the superstars be able to move at the top of the key again. This created more space on offense and brought the side of the ball back to life for both the players and viewers. Some of the greats, such as Kobe Bryant, Carmelo Anthony, and LeBron James, put up insane numbers that had not been seen since the 90s, when offensive play was most memorable. This next one is great. It may make the game more enjoyable to watch with fewer fouls and more continuous play. But we do not get to see these superstars turn into full-blown actors anymore. Eliminating actors from making the court an audition stage in Hollywood, they strictly banned the act of flopping. Players like LeBron James and Trae Young are not allowed to exaggerate the defense's aggressiveness and dramatically fall down to draw a foul, especially behind the 3-point line. Have you ever seen a defensive player that towers over the others easily jump up and smack the ball away before it falls in? This is called goaltending, a very illegal action in the NBA. But what if the offense does it too, but in a little different way? Obviously, they won't block the shot, but studs like Wilt Chamberlain can jump just as high and tap the ball to make sure it falls in, inches above the rim, calling this new 1956 rule basket interference. Believe it or not, the NBA made this change while Wilt was playing at Kansas University, noticing him before entering the league. The rules so far are major changes to the game that really increased the ability of the offense for wings and guards, but these next ones may not change the game so drastically, or maybe not at all. They are still part of the guidelines officials use to referee a game. With guys like Shaq in the league, this one keeps players like him conscious of completely shattering the glass and destroying the basket. As much as we all like to see the glass shatter, the NBA says if it happens, the basket made will not count, and the person who did it will receive a technical foul. Tech, 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 tech. With 2 backboards shattered, Daryl Hawkins, aka Chocolate Thunder, was threatened with a suspension and a $5,000 fine if he broke a third. The NBA changed the composition and style of the basket, making it more flexible to allow it to withstand the strength and size of giants in the new era of basketball. Coaches always tell you to be comfortable and take your time shooting your free throws, but did you know if it takes longer than 10 seconds to shoot, you commit a foul? Dwight Howard has been a victim of this rule that many of us didn't know existed. Maybe this next one isn't a rule on the court, but off of it. Yes, players have to abide by the league's rules on and off the court. Kevin Garnett, a Boston Celtic, wanted to use some of this money he gets from hooping and invest it in AS Roma, a football club, only to find out this cannot happen. Why? Players are not allowed to be business partners with NBA owners, and unluckily for him, the owner of the club is part owner of the Boston Celtics, denying his investments. Timeouts are amazing, and teams usually run out of them at the worst times. But did you know there is a rule for how many timeouts you need to use in a single game? I didn't either. There is a rule stating that each team must use 4 of 6 timeouts and save at least 1 for the fourth quarter. How are the officials going to tell me how to use my timeouts? Maybe LeBron should flop more. Whatever. The officials should pay more attention to who's on the correct side of the ball when the game starts. A rule states that all players must be on the correct side of the court facing the basket that they intend to score in, while fighting for a jump ball. The referee can call for a restart of the game within 24 seconds of its start. If you're into old school basketball, you may know this one, and it is kind of neat. There used to be a rule that kinda was allowed, but not really. Teams would have to be very sly in order to do this, and only do it when the official is not paying attention. They would send an extra player onto the court, but the rule is that if they score with 6 men before the official notices, the points scored will indeed be counted. From hiding from officials as a 6th man to implementing a 3-point line, the NBA has seen many great and controversial rule changes.